Good morning, everybody. It is about 10 o'clock on Wednesday, November 16th, I believe, 2022. We lost another bird this morning to the hawks, I assume. It was found over here on this side of the tent. So I want to move my decoy in an entirely hopeless attempt to try to keep the hawks away. So I've decided that if I ever do chickens again, I'm going to do them with complete cover, where they're not able to get into an area where hawks could get to, or any critter. So that means that this experiment is a bust. The tarp fell down again yesterday. We had some winds. Yesterday, I don't think it rained yesterday. No, it rained a little bit, not much though. But the tarp fell down. One of the stakes came out of the ground because it's too muddy. So one of the lights burnt out because the lights were running. The light bulb broke and tried to catch itself on fire, but that didn't go anywhere, thankfully. Another 50 pounds of feed. You can hear the chickens. They're kind of making different noises now. There's still some peeping, some chirping, but now it's kind of like an adolescent clucking. So just a few more days for these guys, and then they're gonna go into my freezer. And whatever we can get, at this point, we're just gonna see how many we get, and I don't expect more than 80. I expect the losses due to the hawks is pretty high. So next time I do this, I'm gonna make sure they have complete cover from hawks. At the very least, chicken wire on the top. We need something more substantial than chicken wire on the side. Electric fences are good because the critters don't mess with it. So as far as I can tell, the electric fence did its job, but it can't provide vertical cover. This netting does nothing. I don't know, maybe it told the hawk to attack a different spot of this yard, but it did nothing. The tarp doesn't do much. Maybe it is doing something, I just don't realize it. But maybe it'd be a lot worse without the tarp, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, complete cover. At least part of it needs to be dry shelter so the chickens can stay dry. And on the sides, I want to put up some kind of windbreak so that on the cold days when the wind is blowing, we can kind of surround them with 4 walls, or at least 3 walls, or 2 walls, or at least 1 wall, to help them shelter from the wind. So I have my eyes on a company called Featherman's. They sell all kinds of equipment for raising chickens and slaughtering them. The guy states his mission in life is to help return food production back into the hands of ordinary people rather than corporations, which I agree with that. I think that we should be taking control of our own food supply. One of the reasons I believe so is for the psychological and the emotional benefits of raising animals. You just get these sublime moments like right now where it's a cold day but the sun is warm. I think everybody's desperate for companionship, especially in today's online world. Quick story. So I served a 2-year mission in Korea for my church, and that was in the 95 to 97. Before I left for my mission at the university I attended, University of Washington, there was email existed, but it was something that only nerds used. And it was just part of a nerd culture thing, technology, woo. Anyway, I came back from my mission, and one of the classes I took, the professor wrote his email address on the board, and I thought, wow, now he's telling everybody what his email address. That's kind of weird, because hardly anybody uses email, right? Well, I went to go visit the professor after class, ask a couple of questions I had about the class and things like that. And I always figured it's good to know the professors, especially because I'm in the physics department, and there's only like 20 kids in the class. So if you're going to spend the next, several weeks lecturing to people, you probably should get to know who they are. And the professor was just flabbergasted that I went and actually spoke to him. He said that because of email, people were just emailing each other and they weren't visiting and talking, and there was no human contact, and he felt like he was starved for human contact. This is a the, what is that, left brain, analytical personality. Lots of times, professors are antisocial. They don't like people. But this guy was starved for human contact, and he missed having the students talk to him and other professors talk to him, come into his office and talk to him. And he kind of expressed that, we're living in this weird digital world now. And I think that that's reaching the rest of the population now. A lot of people are realizing that the internet is no substitution for actual human contact, and that people who live vicariously through the internet, who don't have real experiences, who don't actually talk to people and don't have someone to talk to and share. And the element of touch too, it's so important. Like we're animals, right? Our bodies are meat, just like these chickens. And we have certain needs, just like these chickens, and it's important for us to feel like we belong to a tribe. And it's important to be touched, And so those kinds of things you can't get through the internet. You get these hollow substitutes. And with the same thing, like when you go to the store and buy your meat, you're missing out on so much of what really happens, of the emotional aspect of farming, which, to be honest, I kind of knew there was something there. There's a reason why people keep farming even though they're not making money. There's a reason why people work a day job and then come back and do their ranch job. They put this burden on themselves, not because they're desperate to get rich. Quite the opposite, Oftentimes they're losing money on their ranch, but they're doing it for another reason. And I think it has to do with some human, emotional, essential need there is to farm. It's part of who we are as humans, is we're supposed to be connected with the ground and with the animals and with our food. We're supposed to grow our own food. We're supposed to meet our chickens before we eat them. We're supposed to look them in the eye before we slaughter them. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So I think getting back to the land is so important, especially for children. I think families, if you have young children, you should be on the land with those children. That's going to give them experiences about and learning about the world the way it really works, and understanding. Kids that grow up in a rural farming environment are so different than kids that grow up in an urban jungle. Anyway, so this company, Featherman's, they sell, they call it a Prairie Schooner, which, if you don't know what a Prairie Schooner is, in pioneer days, they would cross the plains in these wagons, these covered wagons. And a schooner is a type of boat. And so a Prairie Schooner was those wagons that they'd use. They'd ship their belongings, and they'd use ox to pull the wagons across the plains. Anyway, so he sells these things called Prairie Schooners. What they are is they're basically shelters for chickens, and in the smaller one you can put like 300 meat birds, or 600, I don't know, 300 I think it is, and the bigger ones you can put 600, and they can be dragged pretty easily by a four-wheel drive or side by side here, and you can move it through the pasture, minimizing the amount of work you have to do. And I kind of kept that at the back of my head as plan B, along with Joel Salatin's arrangement, where you build little chicken tractors that you can move by hand. That's a good arrangement too. The only downside I see there is there's a big initial investment, just like with the Prairie Schooners. And same for like the equipment is you need to slaughter chickens efficiently. Like the pluckers are like what, $2,000 something dollars. Good pluckers that are worth buying. And so anyway, that's kind of my next goal, I guess, is to get one of those Prairie Schooners, and then with that I could just keep running batches of chickens. They take about 2 months to fully mature, and right now my thought is it possible for me to run an electric wire out to the Prairie Schooner and have heating lamps, and then just like maybe roll down the tarp so there's no wind or very little wind, and raise the chicks from day one. After I get them in the mail, put them onto the grass, you know. And I think that would probably be ideal. You know, all the manure is going into the grass, the pasture, providing nutrients for other animals and for the plants and stuff. Anyway, so that's kind of my thought right now. I'm not too excited about the Joel Salatin moving 20 boxes a day. I want something that will scale, and that's a word that I used a lot when I was programming. The idea is that if you can do one thing successfully, you want to be able to do two things successfully, and maybe make two things slightly easier than twice as hard as one thing, right? And if you can scale successfully, then you should be able to take advantage of the economies of scale, which say that doing things at a small scale won't make you much money, if any, but doing it at a slightly larger scale, you can start to see the benefits of the profit. And so an investment of your time and your energy and your labor can have big returns, right? And that's kind of the goal. If I get returns from the labor I put into the animals here, then it's a no-brainer to keep doing it, right? And so I built this virtuous cycle where I'm not wasting my resources by raising animals. I'm not trading money or, you know, investment or capital that I've accumulated for, you know, a temporary emotional benefit, but I can have that as a recurring blessing in my life where, you know, every year I look at the checkbook and I say, yeah, we're going to do chickens again. One, it's going to give us a little bit of money, and two, it's going to give us all the other benefits of running chickens, right? Like the exercise, getting outdoors, you know, connecting with your animals and stuff like that. So that's kind of my thoughts right now. And if it's profitable, then investing in this equipment eventually will make sense. Whether or not you have the money now, eventually you will, right? And so you save your money, and then you have enough capital to buy the equipment, and your life gets a little easier, a little bit more beneficial. And the other hope too is hopefully, like, I can build a pattern. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing these videos, is I'm not telling you what to do. I'm showing you what happens if you do this. So if you have ideas like, hey, I can build a cheap chicken shelter out of tarp, well, and you come watch my videos and you're like, oh yeah, there's some problems with that. Maybe I can overcome those problems, you know. Yeah, I'd love to see your solution if you do. Or you might say, okay, well, I'm not going to do a tarp. It's too much work and not enough benefit. I'm going to try something else. And hopefully you'll share your results so that, you know, if you build something else, I can take advantage of your design, maybe improve upon it, you know, and together we can build a better life for ourselves and our families, you know. And that's kind of the idea, is sharing our successes and our failures, right? So we can learn and grow and become better at what we're doing and have a better life. You know, that's kind of the idea. Happiness, right? Anyway, that's a long rant, but that's kind of my next thoughts about where to take these chickens. I'm really pleased with the Muscovy ducks. I just can't stop thinking about how much I love the Muscovy ducks and what they're doing, and I can't stop thinking about how to get them into the pasture. And maybe the Prairie Schooner is one way to do that. You know, maybe moving the ducks with a kiddie pool is a solution. I don't know, you know. But definitely with the chickens, I think a Prairie Schooner would be kind of the ideal pinnacle solution. You know, and I'm not going to drop $5,000, $6,000 tomorrow on doing this. Maybe there's a stopgap or in-between measure I can do. You know, maybe it makes sense to build a wooden shelter. Are you guys done? Do you like talking to me? Maybe I build a wooden shelter that does only 100 chickens, you know, and I use that for a couple years. You know, maybe I make a little money at the chickens. I sell chickens for 10 or 15 or 20 bucks, maybe even more than that. I don't know how much people are willing to pay for a live chicken that they have to slaughter, you know. Maybe the laws are unamenable to me actually selling the meat if I process them a certain way, or if I take them to a processor, they can, you know, process them properly and we can package it and sell it, you know. I'm sure people would be willing to pay $10, $15, $20 a bird for a bird that's raised on pasture, you know. Anyway, Probably not these ones. I'm not exactly proud of what I did with these ones. You know, their living conditions isn't the best. I would prefer to have them on green grass right now. But as I said in an earlier video, there's reasons why I really don't feel comfortable moving them away from here. Number one, the bush cover. Number two, the proximity to the power for the heating lamps. You know, if it was warmer, if I had more brush out there, I would definitely move them, but I cut all my brush down, so I don't have any. I did have at one point a bunch of goat weed that the chickens could have hid under. But even now the goat weed is basically dead. It's not really cover anymore. Next year, you know, maybe I'll do some calculations to say it's worth it to do with the tarp next year. Maybe I keep them in the woods, you know. I don't know. I haven't really decided what to do next year, but I do want to keep doing chickens. So, and these 25, 24, I don't know how many survived layers. We're starved for eggs in our family right now. The layers only lay like every other day now. Apparently they're only good for 1 year, and then after that they take twice as much feed to lay as many eggs. And so yeah, but no, we're happy with the layers, and I do think that having a surplus of eggs would be a good way to live your life. You know, I miss having omelets for breakfast when the chickens were laying every day. Anyway, that's my thoughts. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.